Hello, good morning. Welcome to the Woodrow Wilson Center. My name is Jennifer Turner. I direct the China Environment Forum, been at the Wilson Center for 23 years now, and really excited for today's meeting because we have another Turning the Tide on Plastic Waste in Asia webinars. I'm grateful to the Japan Foundation Center for Global Partnership for supporting this, as well as our Environmental Change and Security Program, Asia Program, and STIP, who are co-sponsoring today's meeting. I hope that, I don't know if all of you have seen the news that has come out of Nairobi. I just glanced at the newspaper and it appears that at the UN talks that there has been an agreement on a plan for a global plastic treaty. I mean, plastic pollution, it's a huge global problem that extends from ocean trenches to the mountaintops. And a global treaty could be a game changer for the world in trying to address the plastic waste problem. But we do know that global treaties take a long time to be negotiated, to come into effect. But don't be depressed about this. What's exciting is that for the past 2 years that I've been doing this project, I've been having amazing conversations with NGOs, scientists, business folks, policy wonks in Asia and the US and Europe. And there's a lot of action happening on the ground. And so today, I think in some ways kind of celebrate the global treaty, we're going to the grassroots to talk about three amazing women who are some of the pioneers of plastic waste action in Vietnam. I mean, like other countries, I mean, the US as well. The US we had a meeting last week that talked about the US. We're #1 in plastic waste generation, but it is truly a global problem. And the solutions is going to be an all hands on deck situation. So on deck today, as I said, I have 3 speakers. We're going to start off with Mrs. Lee, who 10 years ago founded the NGO Center for Environment and Community Research. When I spoke with Mrs. Lee the first time, she was telling me that their focus has always been on water, and that she was really inspired by the US Clean Water Act as kind of a model on how to target their work. For the past number of years, they started, because of the plastic being such a big water pollution issue, to turn their direction of their group to plastic waste. And they've been building the capacity of private waste collectors in Hanoi and Da Nang. And she's also going to talk about what I find particularly exciting work of trying to work with citizens and experts on how to measure the CO2 and air pollution along the whole pipeline of plastic waste in Vietnam. Second, we will have Ling, who is the country director of ENDA, the Environment and Development in Action. You have action in your name, Ling. That's a good thing. She has many years' experience working on sustainable development in Catholic relief services and in World Vision. And today, she's going to talk about how ENDA has also been helping private cooperatives to professionalize and improve plastic waste collection. And she's going to talk about Ho Chi Minh City. I didn't mention that Mrs. Lee is going to talk about Hanoi and Da Nang. So we're doing like a whole tour of Vietnam this morning. But besides working with the cooperatives, ENDA has also, moving up the pipeline of plastic waste, has been working to help to pass the EPR bill. And she'll talk about that in her presentation. Last but never least, we've got Tang, who is, she works at Green Hub. And currently she's acting as the chief of party for a project funded by USAID called Local Solutions for Plastic Pollution. And she's going to talk about how they've been working to also empower women waste workers in Ha Long City, and also doing a lot of policy advocacy as well. Wilson Center being a policy think tank, I love it when people talk policy. So with that, we're going to get started, and I'm going to share, I'm going to be the clicker today for Mrs. Lee. And I think everyone can see the PowerPoint. And so Mrs. Lee, you can unmute and you can start telling us your story. Thank you again for coming.
Yeah. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for introduction, and hello all. I would like to share some experiences and what we carrying out in Vietnam, our center, to promote the role of women, including informal women waste collectors in plastic waste management and climate change. Next slide. Can you? Yeah, just little about solid waste management in Vietnam. Here you see our pictures. Vietnam, our population is about like 97, 98 millions, close to 100 millions. And we generate roughly 25.5 million tons of solid waste a year. And the main treatment methodology is still landfilling. And you see, it's really nasty pictures. And we have a lot of problem, air pollution, water pollution, and the conditions are not getting better these days. So it's really critical. How can we address these issues? In terms of the management, can you go to next slide? Just a little bit about the waste management in Vietnam. It's still a very much governmental, state-owned management, and still government has to subsidize for waste management. I mean, the cost was very high, and we pay like every family pay about $2 per month for waste management. So you can see that this cost from families cannot cover all costs of collection or transportation or treatment of solid waste. I know that Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi every year they have a budget about like a 56 to $60 million just subsidized for waste management. So, something needs to be addressed in terms of the management of waste in Vietnam. Next slide. Little about plastic waste pollution. We all know that Vietnam is one of 5 countries with unmanaged plastic waste. We generate around like 280,000 tons of plastic waste per year. And from all this, about 20% roughly, go back to recycling. 80% of this amount goes to landfill or go to waterway. So it's main pollution to water in Vietnam. And in the last few years, we have tried different models to find a solution for plastic waste. CISA, our center, focus on the role of women, particularly informal women collectors in Da Nang and Hanoi, and try to understand their challenges, what challenges they are facing, how much they can contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gases, such as CO2 from their work. I would like to introduce like a small video we did in Da Nang for you to see, before that, here is like a recyclable waste value chain. You can see, waste from household, and we have formal and informal collectors. And here today, I just talk about informal collectors. So they collect all recyclable waste. They are everywhere in Vietnam. I heard there are about like 1 million ladies, mainly ladies, of course there are men, and they take all this recyclable waste and sell to recycling waste center. And from these centers, they go to the production plants. And here today, we try to understand how informal collectors in this value chain, they contribute to reduction of greenhouse gases and also to the waste management in Vietnam. So here is a small video presenting about their life and how they work.
Yeah, and I'm just showing first 5 minutes of it. Here we go, folks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Theo Tổ chức Ngân hàng Thế giới, Việt Nam phát sinh hơn 27 triệu tấn rác thải mỗi năm. Trong đó, khoảng 80% lượng rác thải thu gom được đưa đến các bãi chôn lấp tập trung đang trong tình trạng quá tải. Các bãi chôn lấp đóng góp khoảng 5% tổng lượng phát thải khí nhà kính gia tăng biến đổi khí hậu. Cổng thông tin biến đổi khí hậu quốc gia của Ngân hàng Thế giới đánh giá Việt Nam là một trong 5 quốc gia chịu ảnh hưởng nặng nề nhất của biến đổi khí hậu. Có rất nhiều nỗ lực nhằm giảm thiểu khí nhà kính thông qua các cam kết quốc tế và giảm lượng rác thải được đưa đến các bãi chôn lấp. Trong các hoạt động giảm thiểu rác thải, phụ nữ hộ gia đình, phụ nữ ve chai, những người thu gom, tái chế rác thải có đóng góp rất lớn vào trong quá trình này. Phụ nữ đóng vai trò quan trọng trong chuỗi giá trị rác thải. Họ tham gia ở mọi khâu, phân loại, thu gom và xử lý rác thải.
Ở trong hộ gia đình thì coi như là trực tiếp là nếu mà chủ đạo là người phụ nữ, tại vì khi người ta đi chợ về người ta nấu nướng hết cái gì người ta biết cái đấy, cho nên là ví dụ như là hết chai nước mắm thì hết cái chai nhựa thì người ta lại bỏ vào.
Trong khâu thu gom, phụ nữ ve chai thu gom rác trên đường phố, mua rác tái chế từ các hộ gia đình và cơ sở kinh doanh dịch vụ. Theo kết quả nghiên cứu của Trung tâm Nghiên cứu Môi trường và Cộng đồng, riêng Đà Nẵng có khoảng 1.000 phụ nữ ve chai. Phụ nữ tham gia bới rác, phân loại rác tại các bãi chôn lấp và làm việc tại các cơ sở thu mua phế liệu, nhà máy tái chế. Đây là mắt xích quan trọng trong chuỗi giá trị rác thải, góp phần tạo công ăn việc làm, giảm thiểu ô nhiễm môi trường, giảm thiểu phát thải khí nhà kính và giảm thiểu chi phí xử lý rác thải. Theo nghiên cứu của Trung tâm Nghiên cứu Môi trường và Cộng đồng và tổ chức UN Women vào tháng 5 năm 2020 tại Đà Nẵng, hoạt động phân loại rác của 20 phụ nữ hộ gia đình ước tính góp phần giảm khoảng 3,06 tấn CO2 một tháng, 20 ve chai, đồng nát góp phần giảm khoảng 106 tấn CO2 một tháng.
Phụ nữ có một vai trò rất quan trọng trong quản lý rác thải, nhất là trong cái việc mà phân loại rác thải, biến rác thải thành tài nguyên thì cái vai trò phụ nữ là rất quan trọng, họ là gần như là tiên phong trong cái lĩnh vực này.
Mặc dù phụ nữ ve chai có đóng góp rất lớn trong việc giảm thiểu khí nhà kính, họ đang phải đối mặt với rất nhiều khó khăn. Công việc không được công nhận, thu nhập bấp bênh, môi trường làm việc không đảm bảo, bị coi thường là những gì họ đang phải trải qua.
Có bữa thì có được 50-30, chỗ này bán được có được 30. Mà có bữa là không được ngàn nào, đi xuống 2-3 cái chai thì thôi, rồi lại để đấy.
Thì mình đi mua thì có bữa có cái người chợ, nhưng chứ không có nhiều. Con tay ví dụ như có sát có đồ hộp bó thì mình kiếm 170, bấp bênh.
Chưa có một cơ quan nào quản lý, chưa có một cái hành lang pháp lý nào để cho cái hoạt động này cả. Và cái hoạt động của họ hoàn toàn là tức là gọi là tự phát và cái rủi ro rất là nhiều. Họ không có bất cứ một cái chính sách nào để bảo hộ cho họ hay là cái ghi nhận nào về phía nhà nước cho cái hoạt động này cả.
Nghiên cứu cho thấy, nhóm phụ nữ làm việc trong chuỗi rác thường xuyên phải tiếp xúc với lượng bụi cao hơn từ 3 đến 7 lần so với tiêu chuẩn cho phép, chưa kể đến các khí độc hại, vi khuẩn và ký sinh trùng gây bệnh. Đặc biệt, đây là nhóm đối tượng dễ bị tổn thương, có nguy cơ bị bạo hành và quấy rối tình dục.
The issue of gender in waste management has been receiving increasing attention, recognizes that waste production and management is not gender neutral. Adding a gender lens into the decision making and policy setting of the waste sector is urgently needed, especially now that the sector is moving into a modernization phase. Labor equality standards and safety production would benefit all laborers. Policy goals should consider increasing opportunities for women at all levels, from better contracts to promoting women as leaders and entrepreneurs in the sector. This would be one of the key areas where the government of Vietnam should be investing as part of the implementation of the NDC.
Việt Nam cam kết trong đóng góp quốc gia tự quyết định NDC đến năm 2030 sẽ giảm 9% tổng lượng phát thải khí nhà kính so với kịch bản phát triển thông thường BAU, tương đương 83,9 triệu tấn CO2 tương đương.
Như đã thấy, vai trò của các chị em ve chai đồng nát và nhặt rác trong việc giảm thiểu rác thải tới bãi chôn lấp có đóng góp rất nhiều vào việc giảm thiểu khí nhà kính CO2 và CH4. Vì vậy, chính phủ cần có những công nhận đầy đủ về các đóng góp của họ trong phân loại, thu gom, tái chế rác thải nhằm chính thức hóa nghề này. Đồng thời, cần nghiên cứu các công cụ tính toán sự đóng góp của phụ nữ trong giảm phát thải khí nhà kính hướng tới các mục tiêu chung đóng góp tự nguyện quốc gia NDC.
Okay, I'm going to move it on if that's okay, because
Yes.
well, wait, sorry, hold on. Boop.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There we go. It's a great film.
So, yeah, at our center, we came up with formula for calculation. So we can see, just by sorting out and diverting recyclable waste to recycling and not going to landfill, they directly contribute to the greenhouse gases reduction. Like at household level, one woman can contribute up to 73 kilograms CO2 equivalent a day, just for separation of organic waste and for composting, and 13 kilograms CO2 equivalent for separation of the recyclable waste. And for informal lady waste collectors, so one lady can contribute up to 192 kilograms CO2 equivalent a day, just for collecting recyclable waste. So you can see that, they are really agent for not just contribute to the waste recycling, but they are contributing directly to reduction of greenhouse gases, which like Vietnam really commit to reduce through NDC. Next slide. So, yeah, that's in Da Nang. In Hanoi, we have a project to try to engage of informal collectors into collecting of low-value plastic waste. In the previous picture, you can see that they, involved in collecting recyclable waste, but most are high-value plastic waste. What bothers us most is low-value plastic waste. So we try to connect them to, engage them into that value chain of low-value plastic waste, and we try to raise awareness about informal women collectors. We try to engage them into collection of low-value plastics. And so, we bridge them with the local women association, bridge them with the local household, provide training on work safety, on, plastic waste in small groups. And then we provide kind of technical assistance, like provide, equipment, ropes for collecting plastic waste. And we also provide like small monthly fee. We all know the last year, COVID pandemic really hit us badly, and particularly these women, they don't get a job, they have to stay home, they have no income, so we were able to generate some funding, to provide financial assistance for informal women collectors. So these are still ongoing work in Hanoi, and so we are still keep learning and keep trying to engage them into formal collection system. So that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'll take down the screen, stop sharing. But so did want to note, I got below the video screen here, there is a widget for asking questions, and someone, Maria Carmen, said that she was having some difficulty reading the text at the bottom, but we're going to post that online, and my assistant will put it out on Twitter shortly. So you guys will be able to see it. We'll put it on the website in a moment. So anyway, let's take the virtual microphone over to Ling to invite you. You could share your screen, and we're going to hear her story about what her group is doing. Enda.
Yes.
Yep. I can see your screen perfectly. Thank you. The floor is all yours.
Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Ling is my name, and I will present you the informal sector on plastics. But before, I would like to introduce a little bit about ENDA Vietnam. We start in Vietnam since 1995 up to now, and we work in urban area with the poor and migrant, with a focus on community-based solid waste management system, environmental organic tracing, and housing, community saving, slum upgrading, and networking of community and cities. Since 2011 up to now, when Vietnam overcame the poverty, and are focused to work on solid waste management. And in solid waste management, and are focused to work with informal sector. And why? And before, I would like to introduce a little bit about solid waste management among Ho Chi Minh City. And every day, Ho Chi Minh City generates 9,500 tons of domestic per day, and in which 1,500 tons are plastics. It means the plastics account for 60% of weight, domestic weight. and the amount of waste increased every from 6 to 10% per year. And as you may know, the current solution of waste treatment had not focused on solution to reduce, reuse, recycle, and recovery from waste. That is the reason why more than 80% of domestic waste treated by landfilling. And in Ho Chi Minh City, there are formal and formal sector involved in solid waste management. And formal sector includes Tang, public service company and recycling company. And the informal sector include independent waste collector, street waste picker, and aggregator. And independent waste collector are unique force among Ho Chi Minh City and quite different from the other. And I mentioned a little bit about the plastic not collecting here. In my chart, you can see only 21 to 22% of plastic from the household and 21 plastic from the office or company, and 4% of plastic from grocery store collect for recycling only. The huge amount of low value plastics such as PS, LDPE will not collect for recycling. They collect together with other plastic and go to the landfilling or environment. And why informal sector take very important role in Ho Chi Minh City? I mentioned before, in Ho Chi Minh City, there are about 4,200 independent waste collectors. Among this, 45% are the women, and they collect domestic waste from the household. After sorting for recyclable, they transfer remain waste to transferring station or meeting point, and they take very important role in solid waste management among Ho Chi Minh City. However, they quite difficult to access to social program or any program to support them. That is the reason why, and I work with independent waste collectors since 2006 up to now. And also in Ho Chi Minh City, there are nearly 2,000 street waste pickers. Street waste pickers who pick the recyclable on the street or buy the recyclable from the household, business center or office, etc. to sell for aggregator. And among them, there are more than 1,800 aggregator or run shop. Aggregator, they buy the recyclable from the street waste picker or independent waste collector. After doing sorting, they sell the recyclable to recycling company or larger aggregator. And 90% of street waste picker and aggregator are women. It means informal sector, especially the women, take very important role, contribute in the solid waste management in the city. And as I mentioned before, the independent waste collector, they collect 60 to 65% of domestic waste from the household in small street or remote area of Ho Chi Minh City. And after sorting for recyclable, they transfer the remaining waste to transferring station. And Sitenco or public company will transport the waste from transferring station or meeting point to landfilling and treatment. And informal sector, they take very important role in recycling waste, especially plastic. It means they contribute to reduce the volume of waste to landfilling, and they contribute to the reduce cost of the transportation and treatment cost for the city. And also informal sector, they are indispensable force to implement waste separation or intended producer responsibility regulation. However, the informal sector, they are the vulnerable group with low knowledge, skill, and lack of finance condition. And most of informal sector are migrant. At our survey, 60% of independent waste collectors are migrant, and 90% of the street waste picker and aggregator are migrant in Ho Chi Minh City for working. And they work independently and they need further support because they work independently, so they lack of support to each other. And also informal sector, they work in hazardous environment, but quite difficult for them to access to social protection program. And 85% of them withhold health insurance or accident insurance, although they work in hazardous environment. And their voice is didn't listened well by local authority and community. And they are vulnerable group, so they are very easy affected by natural disaster or epidemics, such as the COVID-19. That is the reason why, and I work with them with support fund from USAID, World Economic Forum, European Commission, AFD, and the Circular Initiative, etc. And in our work, we focus on social protection and capacity building for informal sector, in which we support them with protective device. We provide them with health and accident insurance to prevent the risk. And also during the COVID-19 happened suddenly among Ho Chi Minh City, we do the relief for independent waste collector and street waste picker also, because they are migrant to Ho Chi Minh City and they are the poorest of the poor among Ho Chi Minh City. And besides that, we understand and I could not stay with informal sector forever. So we do capacity building for them. And we train them many topics related to the first aid, gender, disease prevention, law cooperative. Especially we focus on how to manage the cooperative effectively, marketing, management skill, business skill, etc. And also we provide how to prevent the COVID prevention, because the informal sector, they have to go to work. Independent waste collector have to go to collect waste during the COVID. Also social distancing, they could not stay at home. And the second part, we work with informal sector is we form them in cooperative, because when they work independently, their voice is didn't hear by the community or the local authority. And also they could not support each other. That is the reason why we mobilize them to establish them in cooperative and cooperative alliance. Besides, we network the cooperative alliance with the city network or community fund network, so that the informal sector can access the fund from the community. And also we conduct the marketing for the cooperative related to recyclable. Because the informal sector, more of them get income from the recyclable, except the independent waste collector, their income also come from the collection fee. But the aggregator and street waste picker, their income based mainly on the recyclable. That is when we increase the price of recyclable, it means increase the income for independent waste collector and street waste picker. And the third part, we work with informal sector is we do advocacy with the government. First, we do advocacy with the government to adjust the current regulation related to solid waste management and informal sector. We contribute to approval for decision 38. It means the collection fee increase. And when collection fee increase, the independent waste collector can improve their life because their income basically remain on the collection fee. And also we contribute in the approval of decision 44 in Ho Chi Minh City, that is implement the waste separation asset. And we support the government and community also to make enforcement for implementation of the decision among the community. And also we conduct the roundtable or dialogue, let the independent waste collector direct talking with the government related to the collection vehicle. That is the documentary 4448. The government forced them to change the current collection vehicle, and this is not suitable for independent waste collector. And also we do advocacy to mainstream our innovation in the government program. For example, during the COVID-19, Ho Chi Minh City already started to support the protective device or health insurance for independent waste collector. However, they just support for the independent waste collector who have a temporary or permanent residence in Ho Chi Minh City. And also EPR effective in January this year. And informal sector take very important role in the EPR, and they take very important and significant role in the plastic recycling. And we recognize that. And of course, they are independent. that they are informal. So we try to participate in any meeting, consultation, workshop at national and city level to raise the voice of independent of the informal sector in the EPR scheme. And we try to study on the social aspect of the informal sector. And after that, we made recommendation how to integration informal sector in the EPR, because currently the informal sector in Vietnam take the main role in the recycling waste, especially plastic waste. And the last part we work is we do community awareness raising, because we conduct the event at the way pickup, photo voice, and door-to-door communication, and also integration awareness raising among the community or school to raise awareness. This also help the community understand the importance of informal sector, especially the women working in solid waste management. That from me. Thank you for your listening.
Wow. Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm guessing just like Mrs. Lee, you don't sleep either. A lot of work. And then someone also who probably doesn't sleep much. I was apologizing because we were keeping them up late at night, and all three said, this isn't late. I'm like, okay. So Tang, can you share your slide deck here about talking about Green Hub? Thank you. Everyone's presentation is great. Also want to remind the people listening in that we have the Q&A widget below the stream. You can start submitting questions now. I've had a few come in already, but send me more, please. Thank you. Are you good? Oh, you're muted. There we go. Start over. That's okay. Now I was thinking like it was this moment of silence. It's good. Quiet is good. Okay. Can we hear you now?
Okay. Good
Perfect.
morning, good evening for everyone. I would like to share a story in Hạ Long Bay, the World Heritage Site related to social behavior change of product, reuse and recycle practice of local community. Green Hub we established in 2016. Currently now we operate in more than 20 provinces with project and consultancy. We proud ourselves with women-led NGO. And the challenge that's related to plastic waste in Vietnam is Lý also share with you. I just want to highlight that human health in the contact with plastic is a very, very important issue, and the citizen participation at local level estimate by PAPI reports in the system very low level. And take our approach when we conducted project in Hạ Long Bay, we also have we call it 6S approach. First is situation, second that we co-design for solution, and later on with support for capacity building and supervision and scalable of activity. So it's also leading for sustainability of our intervention. And you may see very beautiful Hạ Long Bay, the World Heritage Site, but beside that, with the situation, with our survey and monitoring program during 2017 and 2018, that the leakage top 5 items to the environmental, to the beautiful Hạ Long Bay, that is the polystyrene. And beyond that, we also discuss with local stakeholders and also local government. That is the leading to very significant policy. That's when we have bring the issue of what type of plastic leakage. So the banning of EU polystyrene in Hạ Long Bay after 6 months of advocating, and for whole province of Quảng Ninh after 1 year later, polystyrene they made from some kind of aquaculture activity in the Hạ Long Bay and also Lan Hạ Bay. And the progress of awareness raising, we also starting with pilot at small scale of 5 watts, and later on beyond the efficiency and effectiveness of activity is come out to 20 watts. And we also received the recommendation of local Hạ Long People Committee that expand for whole Hạ Long city with the collection part and also significant of supporting for women-led recycling as a startup with business model. During the 3-year project, there are more than 38,000 women from Hạ Long Union actively involved in activity of waste sorting out, separation, and connecting to value chain. And we also collected more than 90 ton of plastic, and also have more than 30,000 US from the selling crab, and bring quite significant amount of money for women union. They also have association. This kind of money they bring in to support for disadvantaged women and also poor children to have a scholarship when they want to go to school. On the screen that is the quote of one old women that they also join our activity with collecting. They feel proud themselves. They are feel that green heroes, and they said that environmental protection not just only one moment, and they do just only one time. They try to keep it for every citizen in Hạ Long and keep Hạ Long clean and green. That is a responsibility. And at the beginning, social norm of Hạ Long is quite in terms of economic development. They feel that waste picker with social norm is the underestimate and the contribution of this. For example, when the women union they try to collaboration with Hạ Long waste picker, they feel, oh, why we have to do this? But after 3 months, when we provide the education, they see that the meaningful of activity, and later on they also advocate for another member of women union when they are join the activity. And the 2 women on the screen, that is the Mid Huyền. They are with the project facilitator. They are also have a model that they use the brick trap to make it a recycled product and bring this kind of product to the tourists. And they feel that at the beginning they cannot imagine one day her product will be proud with some kind of international friend at conference, and they sell their product to have a additional income for another women member. That's expand of activity. You can see that in some kind of markets play that women union member they introduce about their product, all kind of beautiful product you can see on the screen that is made by women in Hạ Long, and all kind of they collecting the trap, the waste, plastic waste, and they make it clean and with some kind of handicraft, and so also raise a lot of revenue from women-led activity. And for the communication campaign to raise awareness, we try to have a lot of people reach in our social media with story and artwork in Hạ Long. We also organize, we call it the recycling festival. That is engage 1,000 of people to involve our activity. And we conduct the regular cleanup, but involve some kind of citizen science to know and to monitoring the situation if the polystyrene still a problem of Hạ Long or not. So based on that, we back to the local government to make sure that their effectiveness of banning polystyrene is effective, and they also have a discussion between the neighbor city in Cát Bà Bay, not just only in Hạ Long Bay, to share the heritage style. And our lesson from the implementation project, that is very important to promote the local ownership. it means that the collaboration between women, waste picker, and group of people leading to collective action that is very important for our role of NGO to facilitation. And the community leader, women leader, when we are working with some kind of business factor, it's also bring in some kind of social value, and they feel they proud themselves to contribute for Green Hạ Long. So beyond our successful with some kind of social involvement for whole Hạ Long city, not just only at the beginning with small area. So we think that is a co-creation with local community is very important, and capacity building and sharing experience to have a social aspect that they feel proud of themselves with some kind of action. And currently now we bring this concept from Hạ Long Bay currently with the LSPP project funded by USAID to Đà Nẵng and another side of Hanoi and Hội An, and potential for Cần Giờ as well. That is our story related to Hạ Long Bay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Wow, that's like, again, you do a lot, and I'm excited that you get a lot of support from USAID, and I saw you had some corporate support as well. So let's in fact, there was one question that came in. I've got some of my own, but a couple little ones here. Again, encouraging the audience, submit your question. Someone, P. Kim Pham, Director of Infrastructure and Technology Transfer, asked, I think this was when Ling was talking, but I think it's true for some of you, what were the sources of your funding to pay for the waste collectors? So in terms of the funding that went to a lot, I think all of you, I think, Mrs. Lee, you had a little chart that said that money was given to them. What was the source of the money, and and how do you keep that kind of financial support more sustainable? Maybe start with Mrs. Lee.
Well, so we have few projects supported by USAID in Vietnam, and also by UN Women. So basically funding to our project, coming from this like still international donor sources. Yeah. And
then Ling is
Ocean
yours.
Conservancy.
And Ocean Conservancy. Oh yeah. Yay, Ocean Conservancy.
Conservancy is very important. Actually, during the pandemic, and for the project in Hanoi, we got funding from Ocean Conservancy, and we were able to mobilize, $40,000 for emergency fund to support the informal women collectors, and that came just very timely, and you're able really to help them through this difficult time. So that's come from like Ocean Conservancy.
That's awesome. But Ling, what about you? Where some of the support and kind of like, and I'll get to all of you, that where did the funding come from?
Yeah, we also have many projects. The donor from the outside approach. It means we have a project from USAID. We have a support from World Economic Forum, the Circular Initiative, European Commission, AFD, especially during the COVID-19, because we work with informal sector and they advanced seriously from the COVID. So World Economic Forum, the Ocean Plastic, and also the Circular Initiative give us more only World Economic Forum give us more than $120,000 to do the relief for independent waste collector and street waste picker also. And the other like Ocean Plastic or the Circular Initiative, they provide us more than 25,000 per donor. And we continue to support for independent waste collector. Moreover, because we have a very good relationship with the big private company among Ho Chi Minh City, like Penorica Vietnam. So they have a CIF program, And also they support us to work with the Cần Giờ district to support for the poor, and also especially related to the water. It means we count the support from outside and inside Vietnam also. Thank you.
And I don't know if Tang, is yours have similar sources too as well, some of the USAID and companies?
Yeah, we also have a similar main donor is the USAID, and we also have a private Coca-Cola Foundation to support us their responsibility. And I think the most interesting is that we also mobilize the community internal resource to contribute for program, and we also have a big program called volunteer base. It means that we do the survey and other community want to contribute, so join with our program.
But I guess one question is that, that like in the short term, getting the international funding and corporate funding is good. But I remember that, Ling, you were talking about like the enhanced producer responsibility law that you guys helped, all of you, I think, contributed to them, the Vietnam passing that. And is there something in either that in the EPR law that's been created, or other laws in Vietnam that could help kind of promote continued support, or do you see do you see these women becoming regular formal businesses? Because in the long run, at some point the funders stop funding. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Okay. First, in my presentation, I also mentioned we know that we could not stay with them forever. So we have to build the capacity building for them, and I also prepare for them for what happened in the future. And also, as I mentioned, the EPR already implement in Vietnam, and we have the step to start step by step. And in EPR can give opportunity and also challenge for the informal sector. The opportunity is because when the EPR for the producer and importer collect their packaging, it means the price of the packaging, the price for the recyclable, including the packaging, will be increased in the future when the EPR implement. The second is the EPR. They can now, in the EPR, the producer or importer can organize by themselves to collect their packaging, or they pay the money for the government, and after that the government hire the order to collect their packaging. It means in the future maybe the funding available for informal sector. If the informal sector qualify enough, professional enough, they can make competition with the other in collection packaging. The way what they daily work now, maybe in the future they can adapt and can make competition with the other to get funding for themselves, and that is the EPR give them the opportunity. Besides, the EPR also give them the challenge, because EPR require the professional standard to work with, especially the EPR require the recycling facility have a legal license. It means have to register with the government, and the other is the environment permit. That's quite difficult for also the challenge for informal sector. But we have step by step we can develop and capacity building for them to adapt the EPR regulation. Thank you.
That's good. Anyone, I have some more questions coming in. Did Chang or Mrs. Lee, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that in terms of specific EPR system in Vietnam, this also have a chance even for the NGO and local sector, if they can do a part of public service between to supporting for collecting system and bring to the recycler. That is also opportunity for us, and also collaboration with bigger as well.
And I guess one thing that I've got another question. There's two questions that came in that are kind of similar. They overlap a bit. One was anonymous, so I can't see who that person's. Wait, hold on. Screen slid down here on me. Sorry. Again, Kim Phan, director of the Infrastructure and Technology Transfer, asked a question about kind of like the government's position on plastic recycling, and and whether or not, there's, so like what's the government position on it in terms of, because I'm thinking like in China also for decades had this informal sector of waste collectors and sorters and also processing. But then a couple of years ago, the Chinese government now started closing them all down and basically said, no, we're just going to be formal. And so it's been very disruptive for those for the basically the informal sector is being, formalized, but not everyone's a winner, right? And so I guess that's the question there about like, what's their position on recycling and where is it going? And we'll stop at that one. So, can you give me some answers on that one first? The other one didn't quite overlap as much as I wanted. Yeah. Do you want to, Chang, do you want to start?
I think that's related to, we also have several discussion with government. Currently now, the government also supporting for domestic collecting and environmental standard for recycling in Vietnam. And the integration between the system of EPR, like Mr. Ling also mentioned about informal waste picker, that is important for this kind of recycling. And because this most of recycler in Vietnam quite small cans and cannot match with the environmental standard, but in the long run that government want to have a more higher standard related to domestic recycling. So I think that public investment and public procurement from government is also support this kind of process.
Anyone have anything else to add? I think we're okay. A question that just came in from Priscilla Kim Ong, who's a college student, was kind of like, she wanted to ask about each of you. She wanted to know, like, how did you each get involved in this work? And the other related question is like, how did you even begin, like, how did you reach out to the waste pickers and kind of build the trust, which I think is kind of a challenge. Maybe why don't we start with Mrs. Lee?
First question, how can we reach to the informal, those ladies you see in the movies? It is extremely difficult because all these ladies are working like a, free employ. They have no employment. They don't have any organizations. They are on their own. They most come from countryside. So what we try to do, but in each territory, like in a district, there is always one group working in that district. So we have two ways of approach. First, we approach the authority of that district because those, informal collectors, they come from countryside. They all have to register to stay somewhere. So basically the authorities, the local authority know about them. So actually we, contacted with the local authorities and get introduction to them. So the second thing is that, we know few informal ladies. So from there, we start like just very informally talking with them, inviting them to the coffee shop, start building this the network slowly, because one person will know other three persons. So they introduce each other and we form like a small group. So, both approaches, because in Vietnam, administratively, we still very centralized in terms of the in terms of city management. So everything must go through like local authorities. So we go through local authorities and we also approach them directly because they have no organization. They don't have any institutional framework or any institutional context they can stay in. So and then we go, that's why the work is incredibly slow because they are working on their own, so they don't want to go to the meeting. They really don't want to see. Sometimes they don't want to be like organized themselves. So a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of energy actually spent on organizing this work. When we talk about, engage them into this like a big value chain of waste management, it's a really like very challenging work, and it requires a lot of detail and persistence and patience. So yeah, that's everything from outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, and the whole time, Tang, you've been nodding your head. Have you had similar experiences as Mrs. Lee? Like, have you had lots of cups of tea with women or coffees with them to help them understand?
I have a how can I say, different kind of approach. Since 2006, I'm an international coastal cleanup coordinator, at very young and supporting for people to just clean up. So after clean up, I say, oh, what we do next? And when we find out that it's a plastic, it's mainly from the marine debris and litter. So we see that, oh, what happened with upstream for the solid waste management, and beyond that we raise to upstream, and we see that the former and informal also have a way to work together. We are, how can I say, because some people migrant and some people live in the local area. So first we approach for the informal waste picker live in the local, and when we are build trust, and after that they also introduce us with the migrant people. And young shop is a very important stop station to work with informal waste picker, because they have to sell and to buy in the one station. That is the way we working with informal waste picker.
Ling, did you want to add anything, or?
Yeah, as you may know, we work mainly with informal sector, and we have a huge amount of informal worker involved in our program, and not easy at the beginning also. And as I explained in my presentation, the knowledge skill of the informal sector is very low, limited, and also the community people already look down at them because they work with weight. So usually at the beginning, when we talk with them, they said that they are at a weight because they work with weight. It means they don't trust anyone. And at the first, we work with them. We have to start with what they have. We learn from them. We start with them. We work with them. We talk with them. We organize them in the at the meeting points or the waste or the transferring station. And usually when we explain to them, let them understand why and their job is very important and for the environment. So day by day, when they think they can contribute to society, to the environment, they're proud of themselves and they like to develop. And at that time, we try to mobilize them to join in the cooperative together, because they recognize that only if they want to go fast, go along, but they want to go far, go together. And we always use that mechanism or that method to work with the informal sector. And we focus a lot on build step by step, not ask them from this, move to that. We just ask them from this level, move to that level, and step by step. And day by day, they trust and they cooperate with us as a friend or the family, are very free to talk to each other. Thank you.
I mean, really, all of you, the work you're doing, that there's so much heart in it and community building. But here, let's switch the questions a little bit, thinking about because all of you have mentioned a little bit of policy advocacy towards the government. And maybe let's start with Mrs. Lee, like the work that you're doing, it's grassroots, the citizen science work on the CO2 emissions. And can you tell me a little bit about how, I mean, is the government, do they recognize how that you're because you're starting this work to try to measure CO2 emissions from the waste that your collectors are diverting from the landfill?
Yes, that's an interesting question, because when we realize that the landfill waste can produce a lot of CO2. Actually, if we know one national, that means commitments. Vietnam committed to reduce 9% of CO2 from landfill. So that's a lot. And we see that women really try to divert waste from landfill. So if we divert more waste from landfill, we reduce, CO2 from landfill. And from that philosophy, we really had like a few scientists come to work with us. They work very closely with every family, and they use all these formulas and came up with that's a formula how to calculate, from like a recyclable waste to CO2. So actually that formula we reported in the region, to other countries, and UN Women really support and like it. And Vietnam National Women Association actually asked us to help with that calculation, because they have so many small projects where they have the women like members involved in collecting and recyclable wastes, and they really want to be recognized as an agent to also contribute to the climate change, to the reduction of CO2. So actually we provided the formula to Women Association, Vietnam Women Association, also in national level, and they use it for the all group of other women to calculate. And we also work with other countries like Thailand and other countries in Mekong region, and we provided that formula. And at least it's not really like a rocketing science, but at least you have some tools to to quantify the contribution of women through just sorting out recyclable waste, diverting from from like a landfill. Just by that one, they are contribute a lot to this, to reduction of greenhouse gases. So it's really like, for us, we feel very, nice to have that formula come up. We have a few scientists really working hard on this one and come up with formula.
Well, but it's also that you've built this community of trust, bringing in experts, which you also want to make sure that they can be trusted. But I think that the fact is that you're starting to build an infrastructure that, again, it's, that's focuses on like the Paris Climate Agreement. But I'm thinking too that, we have this global plastic treaty that's just, slowly going to be giving birth to it over the next couple of years. But the kind of work that your three organizations are doing is going to be vital, because as this agreement comes to fruition, hoping that the voices of the kind of people that you're working with will also be included in it and counted and maybe compensated.
Exactly. I mean, during the COP26, we, CESA actually has a vendor in Glasgow and showing all this, we need to bring the voice. We need to quantify all these works into number. We need to somehow, to be proud of this big, endeavor of the global, to see themselves into this one. So I think, this, I mean, all women and all people working on this ways, they really contribute and not recognized. But like Chang or Ling just said, we need to work together and we need to appreciate every effort. So, and like NGOs, I think that's one way that we try to bring the voice and bring them to the global platform and let people know. So
thank you for that. So maybe then I want to switch to Ling and Tang. Could you share a story? I love anecdotes about, again, your kind of advocacy, both, for your plastic work writ large, maybe to the Vietnamese government, and maybe also any other examples of regional or beyond. Ling?
Yeah. When we work with the informal sector, and we think only doing advocacy can support them for the long term, because only the government stay with them and have a program with them for a long time. And we just came to do the pilot, and after that we leave And we just try to mobilize how to mainstream our innovation in the government program, such as when we conduct the support the health insurance for informal sector. We try to mobilize the government to save the funding to support for them for long term, not if only for 1 year or 2 years. And we try to the government issue the document on that. And in case in the future we do not support them anymore, they can read from the government and the others, because all the people in Vietnam have to live under the law and have to comply with the law and follow the law. And only when the government issue the law or regulation related to the benefit for informal sector, in case they can benefit for long term. And as I mentioned, in case we try to mobilize the decision 32, increase the collection fee, it means the living condition of the independent waste collector already improved. That is the way we do. We try to work with the government and we do dialogue. We try many methods, photo voice and dialogue meeting and direct talking, etc. We try many ways to talk. And also when we conduct with when we implement with the outside donor, we share our best practice with them in case to mobilize the contribution from outside also. Thank you.
And you mentioned like you called it photo voice. Are those, is that like, you know, short mini documentaries, or is it photo essays? And is it, do you make them, or do some of your women in the cooperatives make them?
Yeah, photo voice means the story told by photo. And we do not do that. We let the woman, we let the informal sector take the photo and write the story by themselves. Nice. And the informal sector, they just tell the story about their difficulty, their hope, their dream, their concern, their working daily, their difficulty, etc. And they let the audience to read the story and recognize what they face with and support them. Yeah.
That's great. Tang, do you have something to add in terms of your advocacy, your work to try to, with the national or even regional, with the work? Because I know that you've done a lot of work regionally even before you came to your current group.
We, how can I say, we as also a go-to organization. It means that when government needs a data, and they also come to us and to ask for some kind of information beyond our data collection. So we also have a technical input for government, and both comparison between Vietnam country to another, for example in Southeast Asia. For example, currently now Vietnam is also on the negotiation of global treaty, so they are lacking a parts of country reports. So we also provide them own kind of our working with documentation and with some kind of plastic leakage and what type of production and during the value chain for them to bring in at one section for negotiation. And secondly, that sometimes we, how can I say, when they it's similar to Ling, that when they also have a consultation process, we also bring Vietnam story at the regional level, more than Southeast Asia, come to another country and bring the international practice to the government. That at the beginning, when they are looking for what kind of international practice that Vietnam government can apply. For example, EPI is one of example. We consider that it's a game changer in terms of implementing and policy is in place already. But how to implementing that, we also see both at international level and also ground up as well.
Well, speaking of back to the EPR, because the EPR, and I've had meetings on this, and so people watching should know that the EPR is legislation that makes companies responsible that produce plastic packaging from cradle to grave, that they have to cover the costs. But what are you guys engaging or pressuring like Vietnamese companies to get on board? Or are you educating? how do you guys interact with Vietnamese companies in your work? Maybe Mrs. Lee, I don't know.
About EPR, yeah. No, actually, in our like a circular economy model at local level, we engage with 2 companies who really collecting like a lower plastic waste from our collectors, you know, and produce it to the bricks and to asphalt for the road. So no, in terms of, so I don't work with many companies. I work with, right now I work with only 2 companies, you know, recycling companies.
But it goes, you're training them, you're building their understanding.
We talk with them. They are plastic recycling companies. So they also train us, not just we try to engage them into this circular economy model. You know, is this the look of the value chain of the plastic waste? In terms of EPI, I mean, you know, in principle, it's like a chance game changer, but it really depends on how can we prepare for that. You know, it requires transparency, it requires big data, it requires really financial regulations, it requires a huge, I mean, economists working on this one. It's nothing, you know, you know, you ask company to pay and contribute to that. So they need the really good, like a transparent and regulation. Otherwise, you know, no company will pay, you know. So, we have that principle, but I think that we're a long way to go. Go, and we still need to learn from other experiences. And EPR requires infrastructure, and unfortunately we are not there yet. So it's good that we have a law, but you know, bring law to the life sometimes it's not easy. So for me, I still, you know, we all working on this, and we all contribute to understanding of what does mean circular economy, who's going to involve. And I think that the government has a huge role in leading all this, and we need, you know, all sectors, you know, economists, you know, financial, particularly financial people coming, venture, and in the end, you know, company were involved. So I think, you know, we are in the learning curve, and it will be quite, you know, challenging still. Yeah.
Well, just like the global treaty. So everything that you said applies to the global treaty as well.
Yeah, I mean, the global treaty, I mean, you know, I was in that group and discussion, and we talk about, you know, global treaty. But again, here we have to understand that we have very advanced country, and we have very, you know, developing countries. How can we, you know, make sure that they have equal, you know, our role in terms of discussion? No, I mean, I heard a lot of like promising that there will be like a huge like mechanism for developing countries to involve, but this huge like you know, step forward when you have this global treaty, you know, approved today. Now bring it to life and bring it to this. You know, to get consensus and how to, I think we, like someone just said, we need to work together. And I think the role of governments and states are very important in terms of the, you know, make sure that, you know, the developing countries and have a voice, and then we can come to a treaty to bring our challenges. And the next step, you know, how can we have these financial tools to help with like developing countries like, you know, Vietnam. We have a lot of groundworks, but again, I mean, we so also requires huge, I mean, advanced technology, science, and finance, and everything. So I hope this is a step forward, but it requires a lot of effort of everybody to involve. Yeah.
Thank you. So maybe Ling, do you want to have a final comment? We're just coming down to the last minute. Anything to add about the global treaty that you see that's going to be important?
Yeah. Yes. I think when we implement the EPR, as Ms. Lee already mentioned, and the government also have a step to start to implement EPR, not immediately take that. The government have a 2 year to prepare for producer and also the informal sector, not only informal sector, on involved stakeholder before implement the EPR. And also in that case, it means on stakeholder have to involve, have to work together. And also EPR also we learn and we apply the toolbox we get the experience from the toolbox from the European country. And of course, to be suitable with Vietnam in global treatment, also based on that, Vietnam depending on the current situation. And how we adapt is very important. And that is the reason why until now the law already available there, but step by step to make enforcement among the community. And in this, we have a 2 year for prepare for all stakeholders involved in the EPR for implementing. Thank you.
Well, good. Well, I want to thank all of you, because again, first of all, we went from grassroots to the high up and the UN discussions, what's going on. But I'm really glad to know that all of your groups, sounds like you are involved both at the national level, regional, and the global level. Hopefully you can go to the next plastic treaty meeting and get your voices heard, because clearly, hopefully people watching, they realize you guys got to remember women, gender equity, as we're looking to solve the plastic pollution problem. Start from the grassroots up, people. And I want to thank all of you. It's an honor to really be talking to people who've been pioneering, helping deal with the plastic waste challenge in Vietnam. And thank the audience for listening in. Stay tuned. We're going to be posting some new meetings that are coming up. We're going to be having some conversations coming down the road about Japan, US, the kind of partnerships that they have that can be helping with plastic. And we've heard a lot of examples today about USAID and some other international organizations, but stay tuned and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Thanks, Tang.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Everyone.
Bye.
Yes, have a great time. Bye.
Bye-bye.